Hi there, and completely out of nowhere, However's just teased a new 1.3 character, which is Guess Who. You could never predict this would be a character. I'm talking about Imaginary Destruction Denheng. Jokes aside, we don't really know that much information about this character officially yet. Maybe somewhere during 1.2 we'll have some kind of a live stream where his kit will be revealed, but we already know that he is Imaginary Destruction character, and this is more than enough to actually discuss him. Because if you're talking about Imaginary, what we know is we already have 3 Imaginary characters, and we really dream of building a full Imaginary team, and also full Imaginary team plus Silverwolf. If you're talking about Silverwolf option, we already of course have Silverwolf herself and 3 Imaginary characters, which is more than enough to build a team, but the problem is, at this point, we will have 2 Nihility characters in one team. Without any DPS character, this team would be a bit slow in terms of damage. So if we get any DPS character of Imaginary element, it would be really awesome. And what we know about Destruction for now is this is some kind of a tanky DPS path, since we know Clara, which is a tanky DPS exactly. Also, we know Blade from Close Betas and Alan, which both are tanky DPS characters which have lots of HP, and also they can consume their own HP to use their skills without consuming skill points. So these characters are really skill point efficient, though they will need some kind of a healing. And guess what? Locha, Imaginary Healer, is the best healing option we currently have in the game, and which really synergizes well with those types of characters which want to heal consecutively because, for example, they consume their own HP instead of skill points. So everything is just summed up in a really good possible Imaginary team. But again, should you really immediately summon for Locha just because we are about to get this kind of Imaginary Destruction type Denheng? It's really discussable because, first of all, which is really important, we are entering long DPS phase in the game. Currently in 1.1 we have 2, even though aggressive but supportive units. We have Locha, which is a healing unit, even though he is some kind of an aggressive type, and we also of course have Silverwolf, which is really good at dealing damage, but she is still not a main DPS character in your team usually. That's why of course now we are a bit slower, and also, which is really important, we have like the most used 5-star characters are still Genuine, Silly, and Silverwolf, exactly because Genuine and Silly are the only 2 DPS time-limited characters we currently have in the game, and that's why they are used so much, because you need 2 teams in Memory of Chaos. Of course, you will use 2 best DPS characters, but when we get Kafka, Blade, and Imaginary Denheng, this would be already 3 new DPS characters, and the competition will be just much bigger and stronger. And I think it will be really interesting how the situation will change, because, for example, if you're talking about me, I'm sure Genuine will simply fall off, because again, there is Kafka, which to some extent fills his niche. Of course, she is Nihility character, but she is this type of a flexible Nihility DOT character, which is more about dealing damage and also dealing damage by AoE. So we'll see competition between these 2 characters exactly, because to some extent they fill the same role. While if you're talking about Blade and of course Imaginary Denheng, they are a bit different, but still they are also DPS characters. So we'll find out, and it will be really interesting, at least for me, to find out what will be the situation between those 4 and 5-star DPS characters, which might really change the meta, because currently every character like Locha, for example, Silverwolf, they are just adding up to this list. They are not replacing, for example, Genuine and Silly, but this might really change. And again, if you're talking about Locha, is it really that important to immediately summon for Locha? Because we already know that he might be a really good synergy with Blade, he might be a really good synergy with new Imaginary Denheng. I don't think so, especially if you're free to play, just because if you currently summon for Locha, you might spend too much premium currency and then won't have enough currency to actually summon for Blade or Imaginary Denheng. If you, for example, are sure to skip Blade and Kafka, then maybe Locha would be a good option. But again, it really depends on your situation. That's why I don't want to give those kind of suggestions, immediate suggestions, just because we got some little info about this new character. Also, we are about to get another character in 1.3. This might be Fushan, which is Preservation Quantum character. And if you're talking about Quantum, there is also a big discussion, because we are also about to build a full Quantum team. we already can build it with full Shan, but again, we will have this like same problem as we currently have with imaginary, but if we are talking about imaginary, we have two nihility characters, while with the quantum we can have two DPS characters, which is not the best way. At this point, one of our DPS characters will just sit there without using their skills because we don't have enough skill points. So we will see. Overall, like, the main idea is we are getting a new imaginary destruction character, which also looks really, really cool, and he is Denheng. So if you think that Denheng is too underhyped because he's a 4-star character, which you are getting just by playing the story, that's why no one uses him, here is the chance for Denheng to shine. So that's it. Thanks for your kind attention, and see you soon.